This is me. My first ever Valorant game in over an entire year. But what happened in my very first game back made me come to the craziest realization because I had no idea what was about to happen next. Whoa, wait, what? Let's run that tape back for a second. Okay, Valorant in 2026 is dead. Well, not exactly. Valorant isn't dying because of bad gunplay. It isn't dying because Riot just stopped giving us bundled skins that we just can't refuse. And it definitely isn't dying because of lack of content. Valorant is dying because players finally realized something that has been happening for years. The replay system, in a nutshell, just exposed how many people were actually cheating. And ironically, the feature everyone begged Riot to add may have ended up hurting the game's reputation in the process. Take a look at this. Before its release, if someone hit an impossible flick or perfectly predicted your position, people would simply say that you got outplayed. Without a replay system, there was nearly never a way to know. But once Riot finally introduced replays, players started slowing matches down frame by frame, watching people pre-aim players through walls, watching strange timings happen again and again. Now, not every suspicious clip is cheating, and sometimes it's just game sense, sometimes it's luck, but replays gave players something they'd never had before, and that something was evidence. But cheating wasn't the only important thing changing. At the exact same time, something about Valorant started to disappear: the people. One of the biggest differences between early Valorant and the Valorant today isn't the agents, it isn't the map picks, and no, it 100% is not the skins. It's the silence. I remember when almost every ranked game had people chatting even before the barriers dropped. Now, half the time, people don't even say a word, and the people that do usually stop talking after the first 3 rounds. I think 90% of players would agree with me of how many games feel decided right after the pistol. You lose the pistol, lose round 2, someone instantly says, "GG's, our jet sucks, Sage sucks, how are you guys dying? Where's my smoke? Kill your." Alright, sorry, I just had PTSD. YouTube, please don't blame me. Then, silence. People either mute each other or mentally check out. And somehow, an entire 40-minute game gets judged from the first 90 seconds. The atmosphere just feels depressing. Talking to your teammates sometimes feels like talking to a brick wall. Nobody responds, nobody gives information, nobody wants to work together. It's like everybody already expects the match to be miserable before it even starts. After hundreds of games, I honestly understand why so many people don't use voice chat anymore, because sometimes it just doesn't feel worth it. And I have a theory that no one in the Valorant community has even talked about. Every competitive game has toxic players, but I think Riot changed something that fundamentally altered how people communicate. Back in 2022, Riot introduced voice evaluation technology in North America. The goal was simple: record voice communications, use automated systems to detect the abusive behavior. And on paper, that's a good thing. Nobody wants their teammates screaming slurs every game. Nobody wants harassment. Nobody wants genuine toxicity. But I think there's been an unintended consequence. People are scared to say anything. And I can't even relate to it personally. At one point, I received a 1-week Valorant suspension, and I can't say with the most certainty that it was just because of the voice evaluation. However, it was likely a mixture of that and the players reporting me. But after that experience, I found myself second guessing almost everything I wanted to say in game chat. Even sometimes, I just don't comment at all unless I need a smoke. Not because I don't want to help, but because I just start thinking to myself, what if this gets taken the wrong way? What if this guy claps back and then ruins the vibe of the team? What if this guy is afraid of confrontation and decides to throw the entire game? So instead, silence. Do a fake A, go see, bail to ult.
Let's try to get a pick, and then we push this side.
So much more, bro.
You got tail, bro. We need to use this shit, bro. I'm about to say C.
On the right, in the corner,
I gotta go. Y'all can go C. Tail, you gotta ult that, bro. Next side, do something. Oh, nigga. Oh my god. Hey, Tail, underside the game, bro. Or don't play it all, bro.
Alright, in my defense, I didn't even want to win anymore, especially when the game was on the line. When people stroke this unnecessary Valorant ego, I just can't even bother at that point. And I didn't even say anything to upset him. It's kind of like just dropping off your little kid at daycare, and every honk on the road makes them crash out. Just like the sensitive little bitch that they are. Competitive games need honest communication. There's a balance. Right now, it feels like many players would rather say nothing than risk saying anything at all. And the thing is, even if you try ignoring all this cheating, there's another reason rank feels exhausting: the new ranking system. Earlier this year, Riot adjusted rank rating gains and losses. And while the system is trying to better place players where they belong, the experience doesn't always feel great, especially when you reach Diamond and above. No, seriously, it feels like one bad loss wipes out 2 good wins. Take a look at this Immortal player lled. In 6 wins, he gained just 71 RR total. That's about 12 RR per win. They lost 45, averaging 23 RR per loss. They're losing almost twice as much RR as they gained for winning. Now imagine that trend continues and Riot pairs you with a completely unbalanced team. A third loss at this same rate would be about 68 total points lost. It would take them roughly 6 wins, around 71 RR gain, just to make up for those points, leaving you barely with anything after a total of 9 games. Even with more than a slightly doubled win rate, you pretty much break even. That's the kind of RR imbalance that a lot of players are frustrated with. But if you play devil's advocate, it should be harder to rank up in higher elos, especially in Immortal. I mean, Dazzler is literally the best Neon in ranked, and he's matched with a whole bunch of Ascendants. And not only is he the only Radiant in the game, but he had more Ascendants than Immortals in his game. And this is from July of this month. The higher your rank climbs, the more every single loss feels extremely expensive. Whether this is statistically true throughout the higher ranks, it isn't even the point. When players feel like they're climbing a mountain while carrying a backpack full of bricks, rank stops being exciting, and it feels like work. And once competitive games start feeling like a job, people simply stop queuing. For years, people joked that Valorant had no cheaters.
What was it, you think?
I don't know.
Alright, obviously that's not entirely true, but the anti-cheat was thought to be so strong that games felt cheater-free, and big streamers quite often had hackers banned live on stream. Compared to 2026, cheating looked completely different. Instead of basic wall hacks and spin bots, you now have DMA cheats, pixel bots, AI-assisted trigger bots, external hardware, cheats that don't inject directly into the game anymore. Even Riot acknowledged they're fighting more sophisticated cheating methods than ever before. That doesn't necessarily mean most of your games will have cheaters. Here's the interesting part. Whether cheating increased dramatically or whether people simply just started noticing it almost doesn't matter. Perception becomes reality. If players think ranked is full of cheaters, they will simply stop taking ranked seriously. Every difficult headshot becomes suspicious, certain timings become questionable, and more players having a good game are getting accused. The replay system didn't create cheating, it created doubt. And doubt spreads faster than facts. Damn, I gotta write that down. That was kind of off the dome. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section, and consider subscribing or leaving a like down below. And don't get me wrong, before the video ends, Valorant still has incredible gameplay, but the ranked experience is just unplayable, and I'm glad I don't plan on logging on for the near future. Alright, that's all I got. Peace.
This game is cocked, bro.
At least ranked is.
No, it's so bad. You don't even know if this guy's a thrower or not. You don't even know if their cloves cheating.
Let's go.